Within the weight loss domain, there's perhaps no topic more disputed than what the best diet is. In fact, maybe there isn't one, given how different our food needs, preferences, and lifestyles are. What might work for you mightn't work for someone else, and vice versa. Nonetheless, at population level, a study by Mancini et al. In 2016 proposes that for most people, that award goes to the low carb Mediterranean diet. However, this may be contestable, and we're really not looking to argue for or against any popular diets in this video. Rather, we want to speak about one common downside that many out there, such as the low carb Mediterranean diet, seem to share, which is the logistical challenges that arise from the accompanying meal plans, and suggest an alternative way to improve people's eating habits that we think is a lot more feasible. But first, as always, please take note of our disclaimer. When targeting a certain diet for weight loss, meal plans are generally provided by nutritionists and dietitians to take the guesswork out of knowing what and how much to eat. This should facilitate correct macronutrient percentages of the diet being met, as well as a caloric deficit. As a result, it's easy to see how at first thought following one should be pretty straightforward. Yet doing so is actually anything but in reality. For one, the dieters will have to shop and look for the ingredients necessary for the meal plan's recipes, which can add up to being quite a lot if there are even just 3 new breakfast recipes, 3 new lunch recipes, and 3 new dinner recipes included, let alone more. As you can imagine, this can take a considerable amount of time and effort, especially when exact ingredients can be found, since it will require researching appropriate substitutes that may even call for a trip to another supermarket or two. In addition, it can add to grocery bill costs. To make things even more challenging once all the necessary ingredients are gathered, dieters will then have to learn how to prepare and cook maybe half of these recipes, expending further time and effort. And that's assuming that they have good cooking ability and confidence to follow through with that. You'd be surprised how many people only know how to prepare food with the microwave or the oven. Alternatively, even if the dieters are great at cooking, having access to specific kitchen tools or appliances needed for certain recipes, as well as having enough kitchen space available for the preparation, can still be obstacles for low-income households. Furthermore, keep in mind that many people unfortunately don't have the luxury of only having to think about themselves when it comes to food, but also their families, who often don't want to change the way they eat because they don't want to lose weight, which gets in the way of sticking to a meal plan too. So, while theoretically following a meal plan might seem straightforward with only discipline being an obstacle, in reality it's not, as there are also several other factors that hinder things practically. So then, what's the alternative? Indeed, there's no perfect way to change one's eating habits. Something that makes the feasibility of it a lot more seamless though is the meal pictures method, where dieters take several pictures of their meals that a coach will break down and discuss at the next coaching session. In particular, of breakfast, lunch and dinner on 2 days that they work and once on a day off, because our diets generally change between when we work and when we don't. Undoubtedly, there are those who will forget to take some pictures, highlighting one of the barriers of this method that we alluded to a moment ago. However, even if coaches get 2 or 3, it's still enough to work with at the next session. The goal can always be reset anyway, with some tips like setting an alarm at mealtime to make it easier to remember for the dieter. Overall, the meal pictures method will allow coaches to, instead of creating a whole new way of eating for the dieter, just build onto and refine their current eating habits bit by bit, which is a lot easier time, effort and cost-wise for them, and ultimately more practical. Now, you could say, well, isn't this method limiting in that it doesn't require people to learn how to cook new recipes like meal plans do, a skill that's especially important for successful weight management over the long term? Well, maybe not to the same degree. But on the same note, expecting people to learn how to cook maybe 4 or 5 new recipes within a relatively short time frame is probably a bit too ambitious anyway. Coaches can still ask the dieter to try and prepare 1 new recipe each week in any case, as one of their session goals, an amount that's much more realistic. On a side note, if you'd like to undertake our evidence-based and results-backed personalised Plato weight management program, please click the link in the top right-hand corner of the video or follow the link in the description. Then comes the question of what the feedback on the dieter's meal pictures should look like. Similar to providing feedback on anything, coaches should start with what they liked about the meal pictures first, picking one or two things. Then, once the tone is set, a good rule of thumb is that they should pick just 3 things to give constructive feedback on. 3 good ones. Remember, the key to consistency is simplicity. Not in any particular order of importance. The feedback should primarily focus on the dieter's food selection and portion sizes. For the former, juxtaposing it with a food list is the easiest thing to do. Food lists serve as a quick, easy to look at guide of the ingredients one should be including in the meal that help facilitate weight loss. And contrarily, ingredients that should really be avoided as much as possible. Here is a basic example of what one may look like. If you'd like a more comprehensive list, I will include the link to my research in the description also. Finally, as it pertains to the other thing to provide feedback on, portion sizes, coaches want to make sure to ask the dieter if everything in the picture was what they consumed. This is because often they'll show a picture of their meal without any mention of if they had another serving shortly after. Next, coaches want to evaluate the portions of what is evident in the pictures. Ideally, at any meal, dieters want to shoot for about 1/3 of a regular sized plate from good protein sources, 1/2 from good carb sources, and the remaining 1/6 from healthy fat sources. The reason why we want all 3 is that, besides the different health promoting effects that accompany each macronutrient, the combination helps slow down digestion, which in turn regulates blood sugar better and ultimately makes managing appetite for later meals and snacks a lot easier. Here are some helpful tips when people are overdoing it with portion sizes. Just make sure to not overwhelm the client and just pick 1 or 2 to work on at their preference. What's your thoughts on this alternative to traditional meal plans? Do you think it's likely to be more or less effective? We'd love to hear from you in the comment section down below. Additionally, if you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. So, that has been our video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.